Well, let me tell you. Okay, you and I have a different opinion on that, because, and partly mine came from I saw when our mayor stood up for no gated communities, and I really and I tell you, I like our mayor, and a lot of people like our mayor, and I was just
she loves Asheville. She definitely loves Asheville.
Oh yeah, and she did not want to see the separation of communities. She wanted, and you know it's true too. I mean, to some degree, the gated communities would be filled with newcomers, and that would be a way to keep them in there, wouldn't it? But
you got that in there good.
But she didn't. But she wanted to hold out for integrated communities that anybody could come and go. She didn't want to build boundaries between people. She wanted, I thought that was good.
I don't want to see the sort of people that are going to move here and then put themselves behind a gate moving here.
Well, again, that comes into personal preference. Here's the advantage of gated communities. If there is an advantage, and there is an advantage, and it would be this: once they fall under a gated community, guess what? The city of Asheville, or wherever they are at, any road maintenance has to come from that development.
That's fine.
And
right,
any
not
snow,
subject to any services
and no services, and all that stuff. And I feel that if I have a 100-acre tract, if I want to put a gate up, that's my business. Again, we come back to the zoning thing. So, I mean, it's just a mixture, and I don't mean to offend, but I just think if they want a gated community, that's fine. But I'm not saying put a gated community downtown Asheville. I don't think that would be, but most of your gated communities are going to be on the suburb side. So, if they want to be behind the fence, let them go behind the fence. Let them keep up their road. That's less taxes for the citizens to have to pay.
I think the one thing about the zoning and about what size houses can be built and trying to, we're going to get rid of all the trails where you can't clear cut your community. You have to have a place for everyone to live. You can't just have, and if you take that option out, where there's no place for me to start to get a small home, or I either got to do this or rent or drive from so and so and move to Asheville, And I think we got to be careful about that when we come to meetings and talk about zoning, about that maintaining balance in the community as far as places for people to live, jobs, is really important. And there's, people say, oh, that there's 5 trailer parks, or or there's certain houses that are smaller, and we want the taxes from the $1 million homes, but you can't do that because you end up clear cutting your community, and you end up with more problems, and you also end up with a very unbalanced community. It's
Just real quick, I do want to jump in. When you zone, then land becomes very scarce to do certain things with, and especially a mobile home park. Right now, I don't think it's feasible to put a 5-acre mobile home park in Buncombe County. The land is worth so much more than the revenue you can get out of it, and it comes down to a market valuation.
Right.
The open market will rule that. So what is going to happen? There'll be no more new mobile home parks. In fact, the prices keep going the way they are. I see a lot of mobile home parks closing. Now that is going to cause some issues, and that is sad.
Because you have to have a place. You have to have a place for people to live who are working. Either you got to put up affordable.
You have to have support people.
You got to have some sort of. If you have a top and a bottom and no middle, you create more problems. You create an environment for for people to look for alternative revenues just to survive, and you create an environment. And you don't create that balance of, even if you want to move to Asheville, where do I start? Where do I jump in? Then you're limiting new people to only a certain place to jump in, and people moving out.
Well, new people who are able to come in and build or buy a $500,000 house aren't having any problem.
Right.
Yeah, and the market is really built for them.
You're limited in a whole section of people who want to live in this beautiful place.
I have been watching shacks that I know of that were shacks 20 years ago around here, and I have been watching them buy up these shacks and go in and put a coat of paint on them and cut a skylight in the ceiling and
flip it
and not have, they don't have a 1/4 inch of insulation in the wall, and I'm serious.
But that's helping the tax base, though. That's helping the tax base.
And then they turn around and they're selling that thing for $150,000 just like that.
I don't even know if you can get it for $150.
Huh?
You'd be
Oh,
lucky to find
and
it for
up.
150.
And that's the
Yeah.
bottom end.
Yeah. But real quick, the
And
people
they're
that you're talking
shacks.
about buying the $500,000 homes, I'd say majority of them are not from here, and they're
Right.
selling their property from elsewhere
Right.
for 1.2 million,
Right.
coming here and getting a deal.
Right.
And as far as the people up on the mountain that's build their homes, you know, we need to address to those folks. I mean, why are you living there? Why are you doing this to our
Yeah.
mountains? I mean, put
We
them on
have
the
those
spot.
Yeah.
Put them on
those
the spot.
Like
McMansions
the
up
view.
there.
Yeah, put 'em on the
that,
spot.
above Weaverville right there.
Yeah,
that used to
Hamburg
be.
Mountain.
Yeah.
That used to be beautiful, just
Yeah.
mountain.
Right.
And now you look up
I-
there. There's all these McMansions up there.
Again,
I
I say,
moved-
I say,
I
bring them
moved to
up
Boone
and
in
talk about it.
1991, and it was, you know, I mean, it was beautiful. It was, you know, and if I went up there today, the same thing. You know, there was no Walmart, there wasn't 7 hotels, there wasn't, and that bowl when you come into Boone off 321, that was farmland, and it was perfect elevation, perfect, you know. And now there's
Perfect place to build a mansion.
and now there's floods, and now there's condos that they clear cutted all the pine trees. Is all, you know, condos up there, development,
And
and it's not balanced.
yeah,
You
and I
know?
love that farm down on Hendersonville Road, about half a mile past
That's Miss Peterson,
yeah, and I
County
always
Commissioner.
loved that it was right there, and there was the cows out there, and the pasture land, and I'm like, you know, it's just there still, and now it's not going to be there anymore. It's up for sale.
Can I tell you this? That falls in city limits, and this is a good point I want to bring out to you, John. That particular property, they zoned it for 200 homes. Guess what? Whenever they applied for 200 homes, and then they asked for a variance for another 100 homes.
Yeah, see.
So, I mean, and she's a
300
county
homes.
commissioner, and I hope she's listening. I'm not saying that was wrong. I think it's a market value. I believe in market value, and
It
that
well, it
should
happens
happen.
all over. But
Yeah.
you know, I think what can we do to keep balance to make sure that it doesn't run
I don't know
amok?
that there is anything we can do to
There's
I
do
don't
not.
that.
either.
There's
I
really
don't-
isn't.
I don't-
There
I'm
isn't.
not sure
Market
there is anything.
dictates.
Market
Yeah,
dictates.
You
dictates.
know, and
yeah.
what's happening is Asheville is changing. The times, they are changing.
In 20 years, we
And-
will not recognize Asheville.
Right, and then this is really true, and Asheville's becoming the home of the rich. It's really true.
It's been
becoming
It'll be the Eastern Aspen.
yeah,
Kind of.
yeah.
Aspen
It's becoming the home of
Heard that song before.
it's becoming the home of the rich. I don't know if they're going to bus in people for service work. I imagine.
Should we
that
start
it'll-
building a second
it-
Asheville? Like
It'll be
over
it'll be the
more.
it will be the rich,
Up-
and
up
what's
by
left of the
Leicester.
trailer parks will
Right.
have Mexicans
Back in there,
that will
that's
do the
really pretty
service work for
country
the
over
rich,
there.
Yeah.
and that's pretty much what.
Oh, I don't know.
Well, that's the vision of the
Yeah,
future.
oh,
here I
it's
see.
a
You know, and that's a
Possibility.
real shame because we've got a community here that the people who have been here and who have been a part of the community, and I mean a part of the fairly recent community, the community that has built up in this town. See, there's been a lot of development over the last 20 years here in this town that has a lot to do with the arts and things like that, you know, and that community, you know, really feels strong about staying here. But I've seen it before. I used to live in a place called Coconut Grove in Florida, and I watched the gentrification of Coconut Grove. I watched when Miami expanded and took Coconut Grove in.
annexed it. Yeah.
Right, and I watched what used to be jungles, we called them, turn into condominiums and stuff like that, and I watched the giant exodus of the locals from the place. Now, a lot of them went to Key West. There was a great stream of Coconut Grove people that went to Key West, but there was a great stream of Coconut Grove people that came to Asheville, North Carolina. And when I first moved to Asheville, North Carolina, darn if I didn't meet more Coconut Grove people in Asheville than I knew when I lived in Coconut Grove. It seemed like.
What year did
Yeah.
you come to Asheville, John?
Originally, it was like mid-'80s.
Mid-'80s.
It was when I really first moved in up here, and I was here a year and gone a year and stuff like that. But you know, like staying here as much as a year at a time. I can, you know, so you know, so, and that's when the exodus from Coconut Grove was. I guess the exodus from Coconut Grove was already well underway. There was a lot of people were up here from there.
But real quick, like you said earlier, where will these folks go in 5 to 10 years? I mean, where?
I don't know where they'll go. That was what I wondered when I was in Coconut Grove. Where would they go? And I was surprised to find that so many of them had come here.
Well,
You
when
know.
when I moved here from New Orleans in '89,
Oh, we've got a good,
houses were very inexpensive, and I came here as an artisan, so I'm hearing you on the
right.
what is the local artisans
Yeah,
gonna do?
when I moved,
and my house price was
that's
so
the whole thing. When I moved
reasonable.
in Boone, you can get 2 part-time jobs or whatever, and there was always, you could make a decent living and still even if you wanted to buy a house, you could. And then just like that,
Yeah.
it was gone. You were boxed out, and either you did this, either you drove from Mountain City and drove to work, and then you have this beehive effect where you have this town, but it only operates from people. Everyone who keeps the town working doesn't live in the town. Very few
Right.
people live in the town,
Right.
and that's a strange environment. That's
Yeah.
It's almost like Hilton
Yeah,
Head.
and
yeah, that's a
That's Hilton Head.
and since I bought my house,
They live in Biltmore Forest.
Yeah,
Don't they?
yeah.
They want to run things, and they don't add to the tax base. They live in Biltmore Forest, but they want to.
But for artists, any type of artist, even chefs just starting out, and even people who want to start their own little business, if you box that out,
you
you
lose
really
that charm.
lose.
You start to lose that charm.
Well,
that Asheville has.
you lose a really important part of the community. And once it's gone, you can't get it back because
That's right.
market value does not decrease.
No.
So
Yes.
unless you really
Unless
try
it turns into a
and put
ghost
support
town.
and try and develop support before that happens, before you get boxed out, programs and so forth to keep artists here, to keep people in that middle range, and offer them that time to be here. That
Yeah.
What we
that's-
need is a plan to discourage rich people from moving here from Florida to
Well,
New York.
it's a free country. You can move anywhere you want, but it depends on like.
But we do need to.
how you
A lot of
monitor
people
it.
come here and they want to close the door when they get here, and that's just it won't happen.
Right. Well, we do need
Look at Raleigh.
to.
Raleigh was a small town.
We do need to slow them down a little bit. We need to have them slow down a little bit and look a little bit more cautiously at what they're doing when they get here. Particularly, again, I want to bring up steep slope development
Okay, steep slope.
and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Because and you brought it up with water issues and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Yeah. And it is.
We had the
it
Great
is-
Flood 3 years ago, and that's not by accident.
Yeah. But it's that kind of thing, and we do need that people who have moved into the area really, if we could have a big sign outside on the highway says if you're moving here now, let's slow down for just a minute and look around, ask some questions before you build up on the top of a mountain and stuff
How's
like
this-
that.
how's this
Most
for an
people
idea?
don't build on Palmer Mountain.
Let's bust
No.
all of the bums
Most
and
local
street
people
kids
will
that
not
hang out in
build.
downtown
The
Asheville
locals
to
know
the top
where
of
to
all the
build.
mountains
It's
that
the
are
worst place
developing
to
around
build.
here.
That's the other issues.
That's right.
You like that
That's
one, don't
wicked.
you?
Talk about, we're gonna talk about.
That's a good idea.
Thank you.
Don't you have your show?
Oh, it's not my show.
Or are you gonna talk about it? Should I bring it up?
If you want to.
Yes, I'd like to talk about it. I understand there's going to be a show on tonight at 8 o'clock. Is it 8 o'clock?
That's what I heard.
That's what you heard? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
You were here when the gentleman from the Crime Commission.
Yeah, I had that interview.
I
Yeah.
thought that was last night.
No, is it tonight?
I thought it
He
was
said
last
Wednesday.
night.
I thought it was
Yeah.
on Wednesday night.
Thursday night.
Thursday.
I thought
Okay.
it was,
Well,
I thought
So
it
is
was
it
Wednesday.
tonight? Is it
It's
tonight?
tonight.
can we
Okay.
still phone in
Yeah.
questions?
Yeah.
As far as I know, I don't.
Yeah,
Let's go out there and ask. See if they do.
No, I believe it's
was
tonight. I
thinking it
think
was-
John said tonight. What it
He
is.
probably know. He paid more
Okay,
attention.
no, I'm
than
sorry,
I
go
did.
It
ahead.
is tonight.
Yeah.
What it is, supposedly,
I'm paying attention
Yeah.
to like technical matters. I'm like
Yeah,
looking at
he's-
sound and cameras and stuff, and
It's-
I'm not paying that much attention to
live,
the.
yeah.
so
to the-
tonight they're going to do a live show from a correctional center somewhere, and they're going to be interviewing inmates or subjects, suspects,
Actual criminals.
actual criminals, suspects, and they're going to show the techniques of criminal investigation. And it should be very
interrogation.
Interrogation?
I heard the word
Interrogation.
now I've done it.
I don't know, interrogation, but they're going to do this live, and it's a phenomenal. I think it's the Key West Central Intelligence, and I'm not quite sure.
West?
I think it's Key West Central Intelligence
Wow.
Group. It's some group that they're talking about.
Are they like in town doing
Well, I heard that they had done it elsewhere throughout the Midwest, and they were going to come and show live on URTV tonight at 8 o'clock some actual interrogations at a correctional center here in Buncombe County.
Well, I'll take your word for it.
Well,
I know
that's-
that, I
He
know
said-
that you were paying attention.
He said
I
it's
paid
pretty
attention.
impressive when you get them to break. He said,
Uh-huh.
yeah, he said.
Because you never know what
You
may
never
come
know.
out. You may never.
This
so
tea that I'm
8
spilling
o'clock.
is actually really good now.
It is good.
If you want to watch that, and
But it shrinks the cups.
Yes, it does.
Here, kill that and then taste some of this. It's just right now. I'm sorry to break in on that.
no, that's fine. But I think it'd be a real interesting show tonight. I hope some folks will watch it. I'm looking forward to it. I'm gonna go home and.
Thank you. And this is the same brand tea?
It's the same green teas you had before.
That's a lot mellower.
It's good.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
actually pretty good now, isn't it? Yeah, it's some
So
good
it's got
tea.
like a lemony or buttery.
It's supposed to take. You're supposed to add water to it at least 3 times from these leaves and stuff. And I used to go to a boarding school, and Freddie Chong and the Prince of Thailand used to live across the hall from me. I have a story I tell called "Oh, that is the Prince of Thailand." No, that is the King of Thailand. Is the when I was in boarding school, Freddie Chong and the Prince of Thailand lived across this hall from me, and I may have told this on. If I've told this on the air before, tell me if any of you recognize this story, and I'll stop it.
I don't think you have. I hadn't heard.
But anyway,
What
So-
boarding school were you at?
it was Oak Hill Academy in Virginia, and
Oak Hill?
and
Oak Hill?
Oak Hill, and so we were not allowed to have hot plates in our rooms. However, the foreign students were allowed to have hot plates in their room because sometimes I believe some foreign students had problems acclimating to the American diet, and so they didn't. So they allowed them to be able to cook and stuff, so they
Yeah,
could
they
have
could have their rice steamers, and they could
Yeah.
like saute their shrimp curry.
exactly
and stuff
all that
like
kind of stuff. And but then that set up us and them situation with the kids that lived in the dorms, because they had food and we could smell them cook their food and stuff, but they could not feed all the American kids, you know what I mean? So there was really sort of a barrier there. It was like the
The gated community.
yeah, well, anyway, foreign kids might have food in their room and stuff, and so one night a knock comes on my door, and it's Freddie Chung, and he says it was some kind of celebration, like a New Year or something, where all the he says this is something that we all celebrate, and we've fixed a traditional meal, and they had all gotten together to make, all the Oriental kids had made this traditional meal, and he says, we have lots of food. He says, would you like to come over and eat with us? And I'm like, sure. So I went over there, and one of the first things he served me was a bowl of soup. And he says, this is very hot. It was very spicy soup. He says, I do not know if you can eat the hot soup, but would you like to try? And I'm like, yeah. So he gives me a bowl of the hot soup, and I noticed all the other Oriental, they're like watching me. I'm eating the hot soup, and they're all watching me. And when I finished my bowl of soup, Freddie says, would you like another bowl? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And they're all like, ah! And so I'm because I can eat the hot soup, now I'm their friend. It's like
They
I
can relate with you.
I've passed the audition here, you know what I mean? And I can hang out
You've got
now.
the initiation. You've
The
been
initiation,
initiated.
right? I've passed the initiation. I've eaten the hot soup, and everything is good. And so then after that, every now and then, like the knock would come on my door like late at night and stuff like that, and Freddie would say, "We have food in the room, come," And I would have to sneak and not let the other American students know, But so
And you became the outsider too, I'll bet you.
no,
You didn't?
no.
You pulled it off?
Yeah, but I was gaining weight,
You were getting a full belly. That's what it was.
And it
in
was
the college,
and it was great. Okay, so now here in Asheville, we have a Thai restaurant, and in the Thai restaurant they have a picture of the royal family from Thailand is in there on the wall, and so
Was that the one that got killed? That got murdered?
when
No, that was a prince.
The prince.
That was a prince.
And
of
his
Thailand.
wife.
Yes.
when
Couple years ago?
oh
Yeah,
no.
well, about a year ago.
Not
it was
that long
recent.
ago.
We lived down,
Recently.
lived down in Fairview.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
recently.
Yeah.
in Fairview.
Yes. They had got exiled.
It was
Yeah.
the prince
He
that
came here, him and his wife, and they went
the,
back to
um,
Oh,
St.
oh,
Thomas.
and
Student
what
at
was his
AB Tech.
name?
She was
I don't
a
know.
student.
Was it
They had
one
an
spelled with a
American
V?
name. They had an
Yeah,
American
they had-
name and then
yeah.
a Thai name.
I don't know, but
Oh.
I know he.
She was
yeah,
a student
was-
at
AB Tech.
AB Tech.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think did he not teach over at UNCA?
Yeah.
I think
I
so.
think so.
Yeah.
I don't remember his name.
Oh.
They were working
Hope
on
it's not the-
an
hope it's not
exchange
your
too. They
friend.
were bringing computers over
Uh-huh.
there, and there was.
Well, anyway, so we go
Well,
in
he
there.
was he was
Could have been
the
about-
heir to the throne.
Yeah, he was the heir to the
that-
throne. He was the
He
prince.
went over there, and an assassin killed him.
in Thailand,
Yeah, in Thailand. Yeah.
and that's been about a year ago.
Not that long.
Maybe
it's
not even a
between,
year ago.
In the past 2 years,
No, I'd say less than a
but
year.
probably less. I'm just
Less
being
than a year.
conservative.
less than a year, or just about a year ago. Yeah.
Well, this is more than a year ago that we went over there. It was myself and Gary McCracken, if you recall, he came and played this guitar here one time, and
Yeah.
The
and
wonderful guitar player with the fabulous voice that wears hats.
with
No, the
what-
gene pool.
no, the
No,
other
no,
one,
wait.
no, that was Moss.
That was Moss.
Moss.
From the
His
short
good.
end of the gene pool,
Yeah.
that's Moss. The other one was Gary.
Great
Anyway,
singer.
Gary and I and Kensaku Nishizato, and so the waitress comes and Gary ordered the hot soup, and the waitress says she says, "Oh, I do not know if you can eat the hot soup." well, first she says you want number 1 hot, number 2 hot, number 3 hot, number 4 hot.
You must have laid yourself out when you heard that.
or number 5 hot, she says, and I
Give me all the hots.
I broke in and I said, no, not number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, or number 5. I said, make the soup just like it is supposed to be. Just make it right. Make the soup like it is supposed to be. And then she says, I do not know if you can eat the hot soup. And I said, I used to eat the hot soup with the guy in the picture on the wall over there. You know, and as she walked away from the table, she looked over at it and she says, that is the king of Thailand, and walked off.
My uncle married a Thai,
Uh-huh.
and she was from Bangkok.
Uh-huh.
She could cook some hot food. I was very young when I first ate her food, and it was very hot.
But you put some of that coconut milk in it, it kind of cuts the heat.
There you go. It will. It's true.
Hmm.
Yeah, we like a little bit of hot food. We get some hot food from Thailand, that's for sure. As I have a friend, and he and I occasionally go out to the Thai buffet and stuff like that. And I've gotten sort of to like a little bit of cayenne pepper, you know.
Where is the Thai buffet? I didn't even know they had one.
Yeah, it's out.
Is it out Hendersonville Road,
Hendersonville
way out
Road.
there on the right?
Hendersonville Road on the left as you're going out. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Actually, I think we've got 2 or 3 Thai restaurants around town now, but that's the one that's been here a long time. It's actually been here a good while. And catch the buffet. I highly recommend the buffet. I don't know.
Yeah.
You've been very quiet.
I have been as of
Well,
recently.
he had a brilliant
I
idea.
had a brilliant idea.
He has
Okay,
a very
let me
brilliant idea.
reiterate this idea then.
Okay.
It's just an idea because we were discussing the people that are building all their McMansions up on the top of the hills. How about busing all of the unruly street kids and all of the bums and crackheads from downtown and put them on the top of all of these hills?
That's why they were having the gates put in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they can't do the gates now, remember? So,
Right.
You know one of the main reasons why we have a problem with the homeless here in Asheville. Do
Why?
you really want to know? And
Yeah.
it's very blunt.
Mhm.
It's because we have too many programs for the homeless.
But that's called enabling them to stay where
But
they
you
are.
also they shut down
That's-
a lot.
If you build it,
They
they
shut
come.
down a lot.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's called enabling.
But they closed down a lot of the mental institutions too, and the programs
That's right.
that were offering people help, and they shortened. I mean, now it's a revolving door. You go in, you go out. That doesn't mean that you're cured or that you're.
Absolutely.
And I saw it happen in New York. You know, they
right.
cut funding, and then all of a sudden we had a huge homeless
Well,
problem.
then they were on the street.
Yeah, well,
I saw it
well,
too.
you know,
Yeah.
they're people, and you can't.
Saw
There was
it
no transitional program, implemented before they cut the
Well,
program.
the question would be, how many of those homeless people do we have here in Asheville that falls in that category? I don't know if it's.
I
that
don't
many.
know. I don't have the stats.
I don't know. I
Well,
think
yeah.
homeless is for the most part, is by choice.
Yeah. I was there. I would say it was back in the '80s. I can't remember precisely when it was, but I was there when the bus came in from, the bus from the mental hospital came in and parked in the parking lot at what used to be Hardee's, which is a Mexican restaurant there now.
And just let them all out.
Yeah, and let them off.
Yeah.
And left them there.
Oh.
And if you
Asheville?
yeah, and if you recall, a lot of homeless people used to hang out around Hardee's and stuff like that. For a lot of them, that was the last contact that they had. That's where the bus let them off. And they swarmed around that
We're
place.
talking about down on
Yeah.
Merriman Avenue.
Merriman?
Yeah,
I know.
You'll not believe, real
for
quick.
years.
I used to, on Friday and Saturday night, I used to put a uniform on and work 6 hours a night because of problems down there. Used to pay me
Okay.
extra.
All right. I was there when the bus came
Okay.
and let them
Wow.
off, and
That's
they let a busload of them off right there, and then the next day, you know what? A whole lot of the same people that had
Was
got off
still
that
there,
came back there, and they continued for years. They just continued to still wander back by there. That was
No, they are
That's
too
sad.
quick to
That's
let
wrong.
people out on the
That is
street
wrong.
from these
I
sort of
saw it.
institutions
That is
that
wrong.
You know,
do not belong there. The town I'm from in Middletown, Connecticut, whenever two of the biggest state mental institutions in Connecticut are in Middletown. One is the place that they don't let anybody out of. That's where they keep Connecticut's Hannibal Lecters or whatever, Whiting Forensic. But the other one, Connecticut Valley Hospital, whenever they mainstream somebody from that, they just let them out on the street.
So you used to work there. Did you not notice that those people had problems?
Oh, absolutely.
Well, that's
Oh,
where
absolutely.
that's where they come from. They let a big long bus load.
They had
of
several
them
come
off.
in.
Then,
You know,
maybe-
that's very sad.
Maybe
think
more than
also,
one busload,
you
but I
know,
saw one.
We think
busload.
about homeless too when we're talking about mentally, people who are deprived and so forth. But whole families are going homeless now. How many people out there are just 2 paychecks away from being out on the street? And the number is increasing. Again, with that margin that I was talking about, balance. Many really good people are beginning to become homeless.
Right, and we're going to see more and more of it.
And
That's what we are seeing.
it's sad, and
And
if
that's
it's
what
not
John
thought
Edwards
about,
is on TV tonight in the debate, and he is
Who?
for John Edwards is on
Okay.
in the Democratic debate tonight, and he wants to eliminate all the poor people.
Oh, well,
Okay,
he can
that's
start
a
by
good idea.
not giving $400 to get a haircut and give $395 of it to the homeless. Let him take it out of his pocket instead of taking it out of every taxpayer.
Well, that was
Somebody
his
would
discretionary
donate money for me to have a haircut.
I spend my $400 on a
I need a
microphone.
hair-
He
I
spent
need-
his on a haircut.
I'm needing a
But you're a
haircut.
scientist.
Yeah, but it's starting to get in my eyes, and it's becoming a bit unruly. It has its times,
I've had
And you need,
Yeah.
are you
Well,
wanting a
you're
haircut
fortunate-
too?
You're fortunate
Nope.
that your hair
I like
looks
it like
good
this.
that.
You think?
Oh, sure.
Oh, well,
I've had
That's your
comments.
personality.
Well,
I've had comments.
You can
people
even
say
do a little ponytail back
they've
there.
seen the
It's
show
getting
and
there.
they
It's
talk
getting
about your
there.
hair, by the way.
Yeah,
I'm
your
sure
hair
they
is-
do. I'm going to start. I'm going to
You
introduce.
can pull that hair off.
I'm
So
trying
go
to
for it.
introduce a feature called Mad Scientist Hair Tips. Where
You mean when the static balls?
Yeah.
I gotta see if I can find one.
I just can't seem to find a Van de Graaff generator anywhere. If I can get my hands on a Van de
Is
Graaff
that what it's
generator,
called? It's a Van de Graaff generator.
That's right. If I can get our hands on a Van de
No,
Graaff
y'all's
generator,
hair is
we'll be good to
beautiful. I
go.
love your hair.
Thank
It's
you.
just
Don't you
gorgeous.
think?
You
And we
see,
can get
that's
him on a
why
Van
I
de
don't
Graaff.
cut it.
We get you on a Van de Graaff generator.
Yeah.
You're up
It's
there.
something to see.